In order to keep bringing you guys tons of free content, we work with brand partners who you'll hear from in this episode, including an advertisement from Zopa Bank. We're launching 20s Fest, an immersive event that will help you take your next step in your 20s. Whether that's progressing your career, starting a business, getting your money sitch sorted, buying a house, prioritizing your well-being, or making new friends, this is the event to be at. Help us shape the event by pre-registering your details via the link below. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Talk 20s podcast. Today, we're joined in the studio by entrepreneur Isabel Pearl. Isabel is the founder of Pearl Cosmetics, a brand she built from the ground up during the pandemic. In this episode, we discuss how to find your passion and navigate through uncertain times. You're truly in for a treat. Quickly, before we begin, please do not forget to hit that subscribe or follow button. The more of you guys who do that, the more we can keep bringing you amazing guests onto the Talk 20s podcast. So hello, Isabel. Welcome to Talk 20s podcast. It's so amazing to have you in the studio. Tell us a little bit more about you. For those of our listeners who have never heard of Pearl Cosmetics, tell us a little bit more about you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'll try and do this quick because I could talk for a whole hour about this. So Pearl is a waterless skincare company using natural ingredients. I set it up in 2020. We started with just one product, which is our bestseller viral pink clay mask. And it kind of just snowballed into a business. So our USPs are that we're customizable, we're waterless, we're sustainable. I offer refillable options. So along the whole natural, clean, sustainable beauty lines.
Mm-hmm. Now, everyone who listens to this podcast will know that every single 20-something that has started out something like this has an incredible story to tell, and you are no different. I think it's really, really interesting because when we spoke previously about what we're going to talk about on this podcast, you get invited onto lots of podcasts, you tell the same Pearl story every single time you go on there, but we want to talk about something a little bit different. And that was what it really feels like to be in your position in your 20s, navigating the world of business, but also most importantly, finding your passion and navigating through really uncertain times. You mentioned there that you started the podcast during the pandemic, which was a super uncertain time. So take us a little bit back to earlier in your 20s and the whole story that kind of got you to where you are.
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting story. And like you say, I don't really talk about it much, particularly on podcasts. So I'll take you back to school. So I think a lot of my issues are believing in myself, which is funny because I have a business now and that takes a lot of belief in yourself. I didn't really believe that I was necessarily clever enough to go to university. And so all my friends, they went off to uni and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a managerial program, a scheme at John Lewis and just work my way up. Am I interested in that or was I interested in that? No, but it was just something to do other than uni. And then 3 weeks in, I was just like, this is awful. I hate this. I hate everything about this. I think I cried on my last day that I went in and was like, I'm quitting. So after 3 weeks, I quit and I was just like, not for me. And at that point, I was like, do you know what? All my friends are having fun at uni. I want that experience as well. So I didn't really give much thought to it. And I think that's a notion that follows me a lot in life. Just kind of I dive in, I don't give it much thought and I just see what happens. And I think that's a good way to kind of live your life sometimes. Off I went to uni, surprised myself massively. I studied biology. I absolutely loved it. I worked hard and I partied harder. Graduated with a first, which and I was just like, well, how does this happen? And from that, I kind of just thought, do you know what, actually, maybe this is my calling. I'm going to train to be a scientist. So I thought I'm going to do a master's. My plan was when I left uni to kind of travel. And so I traveled. And then when I left, I started my master's. And after 3 weeks, I quit. So I think my plans never fully work out. But that's kind of the journey that I went on. And then after that, I kind of entered the corporate world. And ended up losing my job and started a skincare business as you do.
So when the pandemic hit, whereabouts were you in life? Like, what was your situation?
Yeah, so I was working at KPMG. Interestingly enough, I was very unhappy. And I think, again, we'll probably touch on this throughout the podcast, but I was really struggling with my purpose and what I was doing. And I kind of mentioned it earlier that like I just felt like a small cog in a massive wheel. What am I doing here? Am I actually doing anything purpose driven? Am I actually providing any value? And I think because I stopped enjoying it and I cared about my team. I didn't care about the work. And so I was dropping the ball a lot and just, it wasn't a nice environment to be in. And I was causing it. I was lashing out subconsciously or like unconsciously, not realizing I was doing it, but I was. And I kind of ended up just getting myself into a bit of trouble, not because I was wanting to, but I think just because I wasn't enjoying it, I just wasn't paying attention. So at the start of January in 2020, I went to therapy, which was done through KPMG, which was really good. Like, not the first time I've been in therapy, but like massively beneficial for me at that time. And I thought, you know what, like my job's not making me happy. I'm going to like find a new job. So I had 2 final stage interviews lined up, one at Cancer Research UK. I was like, amazing. Like my master's was going to be in cancer biology, like, or cancer research. Obviously I didn't necessarily like follow through with it, but I had a massive like interest in that. And the other was as a change consultant at a different consultancy firm. And obviously I was like really excited. I was like, this is amazing. Like, you know, I'm going to like change careers, start afresh, like find my passion. Then obviously the pandemic hit. And so both jobs were like, oh, we're really sorry. Like, we're just a bit uncertain at this time. So we're going to put everything on pause. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Don't worry. And obviously at that point, we were all working from home. Like, I remember getting the call and it was like the first week that we were like told to work from home. And I was like, oh, that sucks. But I was like, do you know what? It's fine. Like, I've still got my job. It's not the best. I'm not enjoying it. But you know what? Like, it's paying my bills. Like, we'll see this through and we'll pick things back up when things get better. And then I ended up losing my job at KPMG, and that's kind of how it all started. But a blessing in disguise. Like, obviously at the time it didn't feel like that, but now I look back and I'm like, that was like, I think it was the world just telling me, come on, just follow a dream of yours. Don't get stuck in this corporate wheel of life.
There's definitely a trend to what you're saying, and it's that you're quite good at kind of, is it reinvention? Would you say that? Like, because you kind of pick yourself up, you put yourself back together, and you again, and you go, okay, I'm going to go at this goal, and it changes over time. And I think a lot of us really stress about that in our 20s. We think if we start a job, this is what we have to do for life, or we have to progress only upwards. Like, it has to be an upwards trajectory. Otherwise, it's big fat failure. Coming back and starting again for a lot of people is like, absolutely cannot do that. And I think there's actually real power in changing direction and maybe having to take a little step back or a step sideways to refocus what it is that we want for ourselves. Because otherwise, I think you can get a little bit trapped.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your view on that?
No, absolutely. And I think like you say, I think it all kind of boils down to like society really at the end of the day, isn't it? And it's like something that I have definitely struggled with is like, what are my friends doing? And like that was like a massive factor in me just like moving to London, like getting a corporate job. Like, all my friends were like on grad schemes, living in London. Like, and I was like, that's what I want to do. But actually, when I think about it, was that what I wanted to do? Like, I love being at home. I love being out in nature. Like, I love horse riding. Like, can you do that in London? No. Like, so actually like thinking about it, and it's just like, who was I doing that for? Like, why was I doing it? And I think there's a lot of like societal pressure to kind of follow suit and do the whole like go to uni, graduate, get a job in a city, like find a partner, get married, have a baby. And it's like, that's not necessarily the way you should be living your life. And I totally agree. And I think having a good support network around you can really help kind of, I feel like I probably would never have taken these risks if it weren't for the fact of like my family being like, we'll support you. Like, and obviously I've had to move back home. And if I wasn't living at home now, I would absolutely not be running a business because there's no way I'd be able to afford to pay bills, live outside of home, and also build a business. So I think, a lot of support as well is kind of what you need in order to be like, right, I'm going to just really like change direction with my life.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to notice in those situations, sometimes it is an element of privilege as well.
Yeah.
Being able to move back home,
100%.
being able to have that in support system around you, whether it's partners, parents, granddads, grandparents, all of those kind of things who can support you. So for some people, they may feel like they have to push forward, they have to continue because, of the situation that they find themselves in. But it's also important to learn like what is actually possible for you and be like, what is actually making me happy at the same time.
Totally.
In terms of finding your passion and fulfillment then, do you think you found your passion and fulfillment now?
I think I'm well on my path to it. I don't know. I feel like I think it's less so of a materialistic thing. And I think it's more of a mindset mentality thing. And I'm definitely on that journey. I think no matter what I have around me, if my mindset isn't there, it doesn't matter. Like you could have everything in the world that you wish for and you cannot be happy. So I think, if we put kind of like what I'm doing in my life aside, have I found my purpose yet? I don't think so. But also I'm kind of like, does anyone find their purpose? I think maybe your purpose is just enjoying life for what it is and not sweating the small stuff and finding like the beauty in every day. And it sounds so easy to say it because like some days are not like that for everyone. But I think like you could have like, the worst things thrown at you and you can have, if you've got the right attitude, you can like work through it. I remember watching a video on TikTok the other night about a guy who I think he was in a car accident and he was young, he was like 19 in a car accident, like he survived, he was like really badly injured and the doctors were like, you're never going to walk again, you've got brain damage, like and he was just like, right, like this has happened to me. I can either like fight against it, be upset that it's happened, be angry, or I can be like, do you know what? I can't change it. It's happened. Like, I'm going to have a positive mindset about it. Like, I'm going to try my best to heal quickly and do everything that I can. And, the doctors thought that he was like in denial. Like, they were like, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be sad. And like, they had all these conversations. And the guy was just like, no, like, I'm not in denial. I know this has happened to me. And it was just, he was like, I chose to think about it in a way that was positive rather than negative. And I was listening to this video and I was like, that's so true. Yeah. Like it was powerful. It was incredibly moving. And I was just like, do you know what? Like it is so the way that you deal with things in life rather than potentially maybe like the situation that happens. Like you can't change it. You can just change the way that you act toward it.
Absolutely. I think it's like working with the cards that you are dealt in the best possible way that you can. But I definitely think that purpose is more a feeling than it is a destination.
Yes.
I think you can't, once I do this, I will be happy. Once I do this, I'll do that. There's always going to be something more. You've got to kind of, and I think that feeling only comes about when you're like grateful for where you're at. Yeah. You appreciate the moments. You appreciate also how far you've come. Yeah. Because I think once you look back and you go, oh my gosh, I was like that. I was crying my eyes out my last job. Like, at least I don't feel like that. Like when you have that kind of comparison, you can go, okay, like I'm not crying every day. So, fantastic.
That's a blessing.
That's a blessing, So I think for a lot of people right now who haven't quite found their passion, like it's not a one trick thing. Like it's going to come and it's going to be there some days and it's not going to be there. And, everyone has to do hard stuff that they don't want to do. Like that's just, unfortunately, adult life, which we all wish we could avoid. But it's a difficult one. But I'd also love to discuss navigating the unknown with you because I think you're very good at that. I mean, kind of being made redundant or being, losing your job, leaving a master's early, leaving a management program early, or before you kind of had completed it and not really knowing what, where the next steps were. A lot of people would feel very, very nervous about this. So you must be okay with a little bit of risk in terms of, navigating the unknown.
Yeah, it's funny when you say it because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't feel like I deal very well with uncertainty. I think the word is naivety. I think, I was probably a bit naive in those situations. And again, like we said earlier, like just very privileged that I was still living at home. My parents weren't going to be kicking me out because I'd quit a job. And so, I definitely would say I was as naive in those situations. And I think I was just young as well, like super young. But I think also as well, like something like just important, like we've touched on it as well, is that like if you're not enjoying something, like, and you can find a way to to do something different. I think like absolutely take the opportunity. Like I know so many people who are in jobs and they're like, I hate it. And it's like, okay, but like, you know, you're employable. You've got all these amazing skill sets that you've built up like throughout your life. Like, why are you just staying there being miserable when like, you know, you could be looking for other things? And like, again, like you say, it's like, it's the comfort potentially. And, you know, it's scary. It's really daunting. It's risky as well. And like, you know, I wouldn't be suggesting to people to quit a job to then, you know, bum about and hopefully find something new. I think that's incredibly risky, particularly in like an adult, when you're like an adult working, because you don't have the luxuries of being at mum and dad's or, you know, having that support behind you. But yeah, I just think that it was a risk. And I think uncertainty is something that it's scary, but I think also like what's scarier, like being comfortable doing the same thing. And I think when I kind of thought about where my life would be doing something that I already was not enjoying, what's the point in carrying that on? Like for my master's, for example, like 3 weeks in, I was just like, this is not what I thought it would be. Like, I'm really not enjoying this. And my thought process was just like, God, can I imagine sticking this out for like another 2 years? Like, it's expensive. Like, I was commuting every day and I was just like, what's the better option? Like, stick it out because for the fear of failing, or actually like do something that makes me happy. And I think that's kind of the thought process that I took in that respect.
I don't think you should give yourself enough credit. I don't think it's necessarily naivety. I think it's actually a little bit of bravery in there as well, because I think too many of us stick at something that we don't love just because of, you know, so many different reasons. Like, it's not like you've quit something and gone, I'm just going to bum about at home. Yeah. You've gone, no, I'm going to absolutely find something that makes me happier and do this. And of course, you've got a great support network that sits around you and does that. But I also think it takes a little bit of bravery to go, no, I'm actually going to start at the bottom again. Like, this isn't right for me.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You know, how can we possibly think that like the first decision we make as an adult, or the first couple of things that we step into as an adult, are going to be the right things for life? That's a really big gamble to take. And I think if you're lucky enough to kind of realize that and go, okay, I'm going to do something about it. To me, that's brave, not naive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you are right. I think it's like you say, like reinventing yourself. And I think it does just boil down to, like you say, if you're not, like, what's the point in living life when you're not happy doing something? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've like found your purpose, but I think you can find enjoyment in a lot of things that you do, which aren't necessarily like, you know, your purpose. And like we say, it boils down to, again, it's more of a mindset thing, finding your purpose, than it is being like, oh, like I've been promoted to partner at this firm, like I found my purpose. Like, is that your real purpose in life? I think it's a lot more kind of holistic, finding purpose. But yeah, no, I agree.
Absolutely. So let's talk about business then. Starting out a business, we know, can be incredibly hard. We get a lot of business owners that do come on the podcast and they talk to us a lot about it. What do you wish you'd known starting out with your business?
Oh my God, we're going to be here hours. We'll be here hours listing it out. What do I wish that I had known? I think... Such a good question. And I'm like, I feel like I've never actually thought about this, what I wish I knew at the start. I think massively like building a network. I think like that's incredibly important, not only from like a loneliness point of view, but I think also just there are so many people out there who are just honestly willing to help you. Like it's crazy. And likewise, like same for me, like someone pops up, I'm more than happy to lend a hand in whatever way that I can, like obviously within reason. But I think it's just like building a network of people to rely on, obviously outside like friends and family and things like that. I think that's incredibly important. And I think also as well, just like patience. I think I can be quite impatient, and I think like that's definitely, I've been struggling with that a bit recently. I'm sure we'll probably touch on it as well, but just keep on reminding myself that Rome wasn't built in a day. And also just one final thing, like you said earlier, like just taking a step out and always remembering to look back on where you've come. Like even me sat here right now, like 2020 me would have been absolutely screaming, crying, throwing up if I knew that I would be like sat in a podcast studio recording, talking about my journey. Like that is absolutely wild. Like it's still crazy. It's crazy right now. But like when you're so deep in the doing of just like trying to build a company, you forget where you came from, and you forget like, you know, these things that you're achieving. Like old you would have been so happy. And so like it's kind of just being like, okay, yeah, they're like, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be here, there. But actually like I'm actually really grateful for just even being here and like in this moment. So yeah, those three things.
Absolutely. I think the other thing about you is you are a solo female founder as well, which comes with its own struggles. And you talk quite openly about this on social media. Actually, you know, back in February, you said to us you quite open on social media. That was a really difficult time for you. It's not all sunshine, roses, rainbows, building a business.
I wish it was.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So I guess it was a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Everything kind of reared its head at the same time. I've mentioned already, like my struggles with my mental health, and I think I just got myself not burnt out is not even the right word. Like I think I was like teetering on the edge of depression. Like my therapist was like, Isabel, I think you need some help. And I was like, Penny, that's why I'm here. So I think, yeah, so basically my mental health was kind of like really struggling. And I think that was caused by struggles with the business, in that things just weren't necessarily going well. They really weren't. And like you say, like I opened up on social media, but I was so close to quitting. It was the worst month that I have ever had with Pearl. And like, that's not a place that you want to be when you have employees to pay and bills and invoices and like money was flying out and nothing was coming in. And I was like, okay.
With the cost of living crisis in the UK, we're all feeling the pinch. That's why we've teamed up with our sponsors, Zopa Bank, to help our listeners understand their finances better. If you're worried about your financial situation, you may want to download the Zopa app and check out their borrowing power tool. It'll give you a clear view of how Zopa see your financial health with a simple 1 to 10 rating, with 10 being that your financial health is in good shape. With this knowledge, you'll have a great understanding of your financial resilience. And if your score's not a 10, it'll give you personalized tips on what you need to do to improve your score over time. Head to your app store and search Zopa.
Like I had to invest like some savings. Luckily I had savings to like keep the business afloat. Obviously that compared with the fact that my brain was just going into meltdown mode, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this. I'm not doing it. I quit. Like I've tried my best, and that's it. And so I opened up, and I'm very kind of transparent on social media. I don't really have a line. There's no line. There's no line to cross, because like everything that happens, like I talk about on social media. And I think social media is so kind of like glossy all the time. And I was like, I know people are out here struggling, because I've spoken to other business owners who feel the same way. I just wanted to put something out there being like, I am struggling, like, and I don't know what to do. And so, yeah, I created like a TikTok video, and it was captioned like, my small business is failing. And I kind of just described what I've described to you, just being like, you know, it's been really tough. And it blew up, and I didn't think it would. I was like, you know, if it does, I hope it helps other people. But honestly, just like the outpouring of support from total strangers on the internet. And like I said earlier, I was so ready to quit. And then everyone was like, you cannot quit. And I was like, oh,
Not
damn
allowed.
it. Like, I just wanted to be validated in my quitting. But everyone was like, nuh-uh, honey. And again, like, I'm quite a big believer in, you know, the world has like a path for you. Like and kind of like every small step you're taking, like just know it's in the direction that you need to go, like regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong in terms of like the direction you're moving in. And it happened with, obviously, when I lost my job, I was like, I think it's the world telling me that like I had this idea, roll with it. Similar to like now, like I feel like it was the world just being like, nah, honey, like not today, like sit back down, like you've got more to give. And so yeah, it was kind of like the boost that I needed, and kind of just like the reassurance I guess, to keep on trying. But my God, it is bloody difficult.
Also, you work from home, and
Yeah.
so you don't have the biggest team either. So I know that for you, loneliness is something that comes in quite a lot with business and in your career. How have you navigated that?
Yeah, totally. So some days, like, I wouldn't even need to like leave my house to do anything, which one, obviously I'm grateful for. Like I said, if I didn't have the support of my parents, like there's no way I'd be able to run a business, which is why I think it's absolutely incredible that people are setting up businesses, running businesses, and also like, paying rent, paying a mortgage. It's incredible. But yeah, I think again, like back to the networking point. So when I was setting up Pearl, I set up a account called Girls in Business, and I was really fortunate that kind of took off as well as like a support network of female founders. And through that, I kind of made like so many connections with just like other small business owners. And, it's just so lovely to connect with people who understand what you're going through, because like as much as like I try and talk to my friends about what I'm going through, like they just don't understand. Like they're corporate girlies like stressing about something more important obviously than running a business. And yeah, I think 100% just like building out your network. And I think just not being afraid. Like the other day I had someone from like a business that like I really admire message me on LinkedIn like, hey Isabel, like I love your TikTok, I love what you're doing, like can we jump on a call so I can talk to you about it? And I was like, that's really cool. Like I've literally just like followed your business for ages, and like I love what you guys are doing as well. Like, and it was just like, it made me realize like it's so easy just to like network and connect with people online. And like we're really fortunate to have like LinkedIn and like Instagram and things like that. And I think another thing like outside of like the social media or like online sphere is just getting myself out there and going to more like events, doing more in-person things, which is, I don't find it scary, but I think I'm just a homebody. I'm very comfortable in my own home. And like we said, like what's the lesser of two evils? Like go out and be slightly uncomfortable and put yourself out there, or stay at home, be comfortable and don't progress. And it's like, okay, well obviously get yourself out there and like be a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. So just kind of like setting myself little goals to be like, right, like sign up to that event, go to this thing alone, like go to that networking dinner. And like they're not like everyone's there for the same reason. Like no one's going to know other people. And I think it's just, relying on me to do these things and not having someone there like with me, which like, and that just as a person, the way I live my life, I love to be like, oh, like, let's go together. Like I'm not the sort of person who's very happy doing things alone outside of like being on my own in my own house, if that makes sense. Like I like to have someone just there for like, comfort and support. And I think it's just learning to like, go out and do these things myself, because no one else is going to do them for me.
Absolutely. You said there that you are pushing through with the business, even though you had a really difficult time and stuff like that. Where do you kind of see it going? What are your hopes for the business?
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm trying to navigate at the moment. I think that the place that I see Pearl is like I still want it to be like a bit of like an indie skincare brand, but I want it to be in a place where, you can buy it from like a few independent retailers. Like Space NK would honestly just be the dream. I have shout out Space NK, come slide into my DMs. That would be amazing. I think like, when it's like, I feel like I would have made it. I feel like I would have made it once I'm in like a retailer like that. But yeah, I think just like still like keeping like our humble beginnings, but also being in a position where we have a team around us. We've got like a bigger product range, like, we are a known brand within like the skincare industry, like albeit probably like a smaller player, but like, people have heard of us. And I think it's just getting to that point, because it's like, what I've built so far, I feel like is kind of like the skeletons of the brand, and like it's just getting like it's fleshing it out is kind of like the place where I'm at now. And it's like, I've got these big ideas. I've proven that we've got a product that people absolutely love, or products that people love, and it's just like having that one person like betting on you. And like I constantly keep on thinking like the lucky break's around the corner, like it's coming. And I think that's literally it. It's just like whoever just takes a bet on us, and whether that be like investing in the business with money, or being like, yeah, we'll stock you in our store, we'll see what happens. Like I think that's what it takes. And I think luck is a massive player in starting businesses. So yeah, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
Oh, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you
Thank
too.
you.
Your skin looks absolutely flawless. I'm jealous. Can you give our listeners some basic skincare tips that they need to be aware of in their 20s?
100%. I heard a really good piece of advice actually, so this isn't mine, but if you are short on time and you only can make time in the day to do like one of your routines, make it your evening skincare routine. So if you don't have time in the morning to do your skincare, make sure you have time in the evening to do it. Never use makeup wipes. I don't know if you're a makeup wipe girly, but don't use them. Yeah. Don't use them.
What would you use instead?
So a cleansing balm, which is something that I am trying to formulate right now. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. 100% a cleansing balm. I love a cleansing balm so much. Don't use disposable cotton pads. Use reusable ones, just better for the environment. And I think just keep it super simple. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. Find out what your skin type is for starters. So really good way to do that is just to take all your makeup off, cleanse, wait a few hours, and you'll know if you've got dry skin, you're dry. If you're oily, you've got oily skin. And if you're kind of like oily in places, dry in others, your combination. I have a skincare quiz on my website if you want to try it out for yourself.
I'm going to do it.
So yeah, definitely knowing your skin type and finding products that are like suited to your skin. I think, just keep it super simple. Like cleanse to take your makeup off, maybe like a serum, a moisturizer and an oil. And then obviously mask once a week with our pink clay mask. Can't go wrong.
Amazing. I love it. And I think, it's something that the earlier that you begin to understand skincare, especially in your 20s, a lot of people say if you can nail skincare in your 20s, you're going to be fine. Like,
100%.
There's a lot of people who get a little bit older, like, I wish I'd worn SPF in my 20s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one thing I didn't mention, SPF every day, every day. It's incredible. I follow a girl called Bambi on, I don't know if you know her.
Bambi Does Beauty?
Yeah, Bambi Does
Beauty.
Amazing. Honestly, like she's in her 30s, I believe now, and she looks my age.
Yeah,
or younger than me actually, because I'm
she looks incredible.
Yeah, like she looks my age. I'm literally 28. She looks like she looks like a 21-year-old. It is mad. So yeah, I think definitely. I think as well, just like don't see it as a chore. Like when I was younger, and I talk about this on social media as well, I used to see skincare as just like a chore. Like I was like, oh, so boring. But actually, like making it a bit of like a ritual. Like light a candle, put some nice music on. Like just spend like 10-15 minutes in the morning and evening. Even less if you're like rushed for time. Like just make it like something nice to do rather than making it feel like a chore. Like, it's just a bit of, it's me time really, isn't it? It's self-care. So yeah,
absolutely.
It's important.
Men and women as well.
100%. Yeah. Men absolutely. And
women. So for you then, we're going to chat a little bit more about your 20s, the things that, maybe people you haven't spoken about on podcasts before and our audience would obviously love to hear. Yeah. Is there something that springs to mind when it comes to a big adulting failure, something where you've messed up or you've done something that you wish you hadn't done? Maybe you learned a lesson from it, but is there anything you're happy to share with us?
Yeah, I think less kind of like something that's happened, but I think we've touched on it earlier, is just following what others are doing. I think like if I went back to my younger self, I would literally be like, don't just follow people because you think that's what you should be doing. And like, it's definitely something that I've learned more so now in that like, there is no right or wrong. Like, yeah, okay, I'm still like a bit stressed that I live at home with my parents, but like, why is that? Is that because I think society tells me that I shouldn't be? Like, so yeah, I definitely think just like not following the crowd because you're trying to fit in. I think what is so much more important is just doing you because you want to, not doing it because, oh, like my friends have all moved to London, like that means I should move to London. Like I think that like, and I wouldn't say it was like necessarily a mistake that I made, like I learned a lot from it, but I just think like if I was being true to myself, like was that a decision that I should have made? Probably not, but yeah, hindsight, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like, you and how you're navigating through your 20s as well, loads of our listeners, you've been really vulnerable with us already and shared about your story, but loads of our listeners often think that the guests that we get on here, they've got it all figured out. Like they couldn't possibly, they found their passion now, they're doing it, they're smashing it. But we know from speaking to every single person on the podcast, that is not the case. Everybody is working through something in their life. For you, what's that you're working on at this moment?
Again, something that we touched on, but just my mental health, I think. I think just my resilience, my mental resilience, my mental health, like all of that, I think is something that I'm really working hard on trying to be better and do better at. And I think like it ties in as well with kind of like the business in that. And I was saying this earlier, is that off the podcast, is that I just got so like over identified with my business and just forgot about me. Like I wasn't looking after me. I wasn't taking days off. I wasn't going on holidays. Like it was literally like business. Like I'm just like a robot who's just like plugging away at this business, and like actually really bad for my mental health because I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't doing the things that I enjoy. Like I wasn't, you know, just taking time to like breathe and just look at, you know, how much good there is around. And I think it really just like ground me down. And it was really eye-opening, like in February when I like had like a bit of like a bad mental health blip, to be like, oh my goodness, like, and I guess it's like mad because it's like everyone's problems are like so subjective, and obviously like everyone's feelings are valid. But when I look back now, I'm like, what was I even like sad about? Like, do you know what I mean? It's so funny to say it like when you're out of that period in your life. But I think it's just making sure that like I am being grateful for everything, and like I am just like, you know, having my gratitudes, and like. And I say I need to start journaling. Like I really, someone used to hold me account to journal, but like it's just kind of like, just being grateful and actually just thinking like, what am I actually stressed about? Because like all the stresses that I'm stressed about, I've caused myself. Like starting a business, that was my decision. Like I'm letting my business kind of like victimize me in like some way because like, you know, it's not doing well and that's my problem, and that's, you know, I'm not doing well now. And it's, so it was definitely like a big learning curve, and it's still something that I'm massively working through at the moment. But something that I'm definitely having good mental health is something not to take for granted in the slightest.
I think I don't ask this question enough on the podcast because it's one of our 4 key pillars with Talk 20s. We talk about, you know, career and business, well-being and relationships, money and finance. But our last one is adventure, culture and fun. And I don't think I ask the question enough, what do you do for fun? Like obviously your career is big, your finances, you know, it's tied to your business, your well-being you're really working on. But for you, what is it that's fun? Like how do you switch off? What's switch off for Isabel?
God, it's difficult to switch off. Like I was saying as well, just like because bits of my work I do find fun. Like it's so funny, like there'll be tasks and I'll be like, oh, that's like a task for like the evening when I'm in front of the telly and like I'm just making Canva posts or like editing TikTok videos. Obviously that is not fun though, in the grand scheme of things, that's work. I guess for me, like fun is something that I'm also trying to navigate in my life, in that like when I was in my early 20s, like my idea of fun would be like, you know, going to the pub with my friends, going on a night out, like drinking, like all of that kind of stuff. And now I'm like, God, I couldn't think of anything less enjoyable than like getting absolutely slaughtered on the weekend and waking up with a hangover. Like, and I think it's just kind of like figuring out who I am. Like, I feel like I lost that part of me as like an identity. And then I started a business and my identity became the business. And now it's like, okay, what do I actually do for fun? So like, it's definitely something that I'm trying to like figure out. But I guess for me, like fun is just like, obviously I love horse riding. Like that's kind of fun for me. That's a bit like therapy. Just like going out and exploring, like holidays, adventures, like going to new cities, new places, seeing friends, like I enjoy doing that. But yeah, I think I need some more hobbies. I do need some more hobbies. I'm like, I'd love to go rock climbing, but classic me who's stressed to do things on her own won't go rock climbing. And I think I just need to.
Fun.
I need
rock
to go and try
would
it.
Be really fun.
I know, exactly.
Would you do it in like a centre where you can do that?
Yeah, like bouldering. I just want to try it, but I'm scared. I'm too scared to do it by myself. So I'm going to have to go drag someone along with me for the first time.
Yeah, I think Jacob, did you go climbing? I go climbing. Yeah, our producer Jacob.
Let's go climbing. Let's go climbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like just again, it's like finding new hobbies as an adult outside of socializing, because of course socializing is fun, but like, you know, maybe it's like trying pottery and like art classes and just like kind of just,
I think it's something without like an end necessarily goal in mind. Obviously you want to get better at something, but it's something that has no meaning whether you're good at it or not really. It's just something there that fills the time, that makes you happy, and and is not like the same as like your career. Like, because I think we choose our career that defines us way too much.
Yeah,
and
it does.
We need an escape. We need an opportunity to be like, this is what I do for fun. This is what
put the phone
makes,
down, switch off.
Exactly.
We don't need
So
to
anything I'm taking from this podcast is have more fun. 100%. So it's been amazing to chat to you and hear the story of your 20s and kind of everything that you've been through. It's an amazing story. But I would love to know if you could go back to your very early 20s, if you could look 20-year-old Isabel in the eye and give her just one piece of advice to see her through her 20s, what would you say to her?
I would tell her to believe in herself, number one. I think that's something, like I said earlier, like I still struggle with now, but I think, just believing in myself and also just knowing that, like I mentioned as well earlier, in that like every step that you're taking is just getting you closer to where you need to be, regardless of if you know where that is. Like, and I still don't know where that is. And that's still like a notion that I'm trying to tell myself every day. Just like every small thing that you're doing is just getting you closer to that like end destination, which hopefully is finding my purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just massively like that self-belief thing. I think I would just tell her like, believe in yourself, believe in your abilities, like, love yourself, I think, massively. And just do good and be good.
Well, good luck with everything with Pow. It's amazing what you're building. I'm so
Thank you
inspired by
so
what you do.
much. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Woo! Yay!